And we are live. Good to see you folks. Sorry, running a minute behind. I apologize for that. I am super excited today. We've got our friend Majid Padellan with us today. Y'all know him as Brooklyn Dad Defiant. We're going to talk about basically the massive double standard that we have between Donald Trump and all of the horrific crap that he does, and Kamala Harris. I mean, it is the ridiculousness of that coverage, the differences where the bars are set, et cetera. So without further ado, let's not delay any longer. Let's grab your coffee, grab a pen and paper for the roundtable at the end of the show, and let's do this. My friend.
Hey.
Always good to see you, man. I tell you, I love it, man. I love when I get to talk with you, brother. We have some of the best conversations, man. I really enjoy our conversations. I do. Thank you for being here. I know your time is valuable. I deeply apologize for being a minute late. I live in the great state of Texas, and our infrastructure here, there's no other way to put it, it sucks. So I have an ISP, internet service provider, and 2 redundant systems.
Mm-hmm.
I hit the 3rd system today trying to find one that would actually support a stream, man. I was in a sheer panic when you texted me, "Hey, dude, are you coming?" I am really sorry. I know your time is very valuable, and I appreciate you being patient, and thank you for hanging in there.
It's all good, buddy. It's a pleasure to be here.
Man, you know, per our conversation yesterday, you had mentioned that clip from Van Jones where he nailed it right on the head. You know, I both have had beefs with Van Jones in the past, but you got to give credit where credit is due. The guy really did just nail it in talking about Kamala Harris and what is basically the media's just absolute bias towards her coverage. And forgive me, sorry about that.
I didn't even hear it.
Yeah, I muted. The coverage of Kamala Harris, the expectations of Kamala Harris, where the bar is for her and Donald Trump. I mean, it's insane, the difference.
Yeah. So Van Jones had lost me some years back when you probably remember that thing he did when he said, tonight was the night Donald Trump became president. I was like, come on, man. And I think there were a few other silly utterances by this otherwise intelligent man. I was like, why is he even saying these things? But the other night, it wasn't last night, it was the night before, the night of the CNN town hall, he really did hit the nail on the head when he said that Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are not taking the same exam. He gets to be lawless. She has to be flawless. And I mean, it was so perfect. I remember it pretty much verbatim, exactly what he said. And that is what we are witnessing. We're witnessing in real time him, rambling on about, Arnold Palmer's genitalia and other and any wide assortment of bizarre things. He's canceling appearances left and right. He's not really talking policy. All he's talking about is deporting millions of people and tariffs. And nobody has yet to ask him. I would pay somebody $1,000. No, I wouldn't pay him $1,000 because it's their damn job, But I would applaud them if they would ask Donald Trump, "Do you know what a tariff is?" As simple as that. Anderson Cooper must have pushed back on Kamala Harris for wanting to dig deep on what was it on fracking or something. She said, "Okay, I've been in office for 4 now. My perspective has changed on it. But he wanted to dig deeper on that. Like, come on! I've never seen politicians get grilled like like that. And it's not like she didn't answer. She answered. He just what did you want? You wanted some kind of mea culpa? Did you want her to break down on the stage and say, I'm sorry. I felt one way before and now I feel differently. Come on now. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we want. That's what we want out of our leaders. Learn, adapt, overcome, change your point of view to fit reality. I mean, when reality changes, change your point of view. When fracking first started, they didn't know what the hell they were doing. They didn't. Yeah. They really didn't. It was cowboy drilling, man. They were just winging it. They've gotten much better at it now. They have. So the opposition should change. Let's give credit where credit is due. I want the folks to know the exact clip we're talking about because I like I said, there are things that Van Jones has said that I have said, what the hell, man? You know what I mean? But when he gets one right, you got kudos because he nailed this one. This one was really good, folks.
Oh, I thought you were going to. Oh, there you go.
There we go.
Look, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are not taking the same exam.
Yeah.
And I think it bothers people. They're not taking the same exam. He gets to be lawless. She has to be flawless. That's what's unfair. That's what's unfair. That's what's unfair tonight. That's what's unfair tonight. They're not taking the same exam. Look, she has policies. She may not articulate them perfectly every time. She may not put the stories in the right places, but she's fighting for actual ideas that will help real people. And he's talking about people's penises. And so they are not taking the same exam. And that's pissing people off. It's pissing me off.
Well, and I'm also old enough to remember that if your fiscal plans were actually said to bankrupt the Social Security Trust Fund in sooner years, Donald Trump's, that would be a campaign destroying issue. But we just gloss over things with Donald Trump.
Look.
Bingo.
That's going to be, every once in a while, there's that clip, there's that thing that just sticks out that has hang time well past the election. I think that's going to be one of them.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think she's been running. I can't say it's been a flawless campaign, but it's really impressive what she has accomplished in such a relatively short period of time. Look at this. Donald Trump has been campaigning since he left office. He's been campaigning to run a second time because not because he cares about the American people, but because he's trying to keep his behind out of prison. That is the only reason. That's why when people ask him for policy specifics, he doesn't have them because my policy specific is I don't want to be in cell block D with, with Buford as my cellmate. He doesn't want that. So in 3 months, Kamala Harris has assembled an extremely diverse coalition of support, which holy cow, she's got the Cheneys, and I'm not, not just any Cheneys, but Darth Vader, Dick Cheney, and people are saying, oh, now you're a fan of Dick Cheney. No, I'm not a fan of Dick Cheney at all. I still think he's a reprehensible human being, but Donald Trump is so bad that even Darth Vader is against him. That's what your takeaway from that. It's not that we're with him. We're not with Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney is against Donald Trump. That is the distinction, smarty pants. So not only that, she's got $1 billion. She raised $1 billion in 3 months. That is That's insane. It's crazy. And then let's put all that aside. She's got some excellent policy ideas. Excuse me. The $6,000 for of tax credits for young couples expecting their first child. She's got the small business thing for $50,000. What I love is the Medicare in-home expansion where it's a
that
pay
is
for.
huge.
It's tremendous. It's tremendous. Like every news station needs to be talking about that because that's life changing. There's so many people who have elderly parents and grandparents, and it's major. I saw you were going to say something.
No, Majid, I just that right there. People don't understand what it's like when you have somebody that's elderly. The cost of care for them is astronomical, just astronomical. To get the way it stands right now, to get the government to help. I mean, if you've never cared for someone, you don't know. It's soul crushing when you find out they can't have assets. They can't have a nickel to their name. The government will not. There's nothing. You literally they have to be broke before Medicare will kick in and cover any of it. It's just soul crushing what happens to families. And this benefit, it's massive. It is massive because it means you get to stay in your home. You get to stay in your home. You don't have to go. And some of these facilities, man, I tell you, I live out in rural East Texas. There are some facilities out here that are just great. These people really care about what they're doing. And then there are some of these facilities that are just nightmares. I mean, just nightmare fuel. And just being able to stay in your home where your family can be there, where you know what I mean? It's life-changing. And she's talking about things that are literally life-changing. He's talking about across the board, we don't even know what the tariffs are at this point. He's changed that number so many times. And on top of it, when he talks about a tariff, it's clear he doesn't know what it is. He doesn't know. He thinks
the other country pays for it. He thinks China pays and you're right. He said he changes the number all the time. I literally saw him the other day saying, you know what? Maybe it'll be 60%. Maybe it'll be 200%. Maybe 2,000%. He's just like riffing, just making shit up off the cuff. And the economists are almost universally united in opposition against this. They're all sounding the alarm, saying that this will devastate the economy. It will put us in a recession. It's very serious. It will cause what do they say? Like add an additional $5 trillion in debt. Some ridiculously high amount. When they start talking trillions, like my eyes kind of glaze over because I can't even fathom a billion, let alone a trillion, let alone 5 trillion. So
I mean, it does become somewhat abstract at the time, but when every economist out there, including conservative economists, their best spin on it, you see Shark Tank guy to all
Mark
the time.
Cuban.
No, not Mark Cuban. I'm tongue tied. Forgive me. Baldy guy that's Trump loving.
That dude. Is it Kevin something or other?
Yeah, O'Leary.
I can't.
Kevin O'Leary.
Yeah, I don't like that guy.
His best spin on it is, well, it's not really going to happen. Somebody will convince Trump not to. These imaginary guardrails that are supposed to be there, which are just complete crap. They're complete. There will be no guardrails this election. He will slap punitive tariffs on everybody he's got a beef with, period, whether it makes financial sense or not. And economists across the board are saying this is instant recession worldwide, if not depression. Instant, overnight. I mean, it's insane that news organizations aren't screaming about this at him at every appearance.
So, Paul, you just mentioned guardrails that won't be there if God forbid he shouldn't manage to get back in office. And you're 100% right. And the reason there won't be guardrails there is because of Project 2025. Project 2025, it does away with those guardrails. And it replaces those guardrails with sycophants, with people who will have sworn their loyalty to Donald Trump, and not to the Constitution, not to the American people, but to Donald Trump. And that should frighten everybody,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not even debatable, Majid. This is what kills me. It's not even debatable because, I've got a son who's a Trumper. I talk about him all the time. He's got a son that is a Trumper. He's following in his dad's footsteps. He tried to call me out on social media the other day. He said, Trump never said that. And I'm like, I'm really glad you reached out. I really am. Now, I want you to go read Agenda 47. That is printed from Trump. That is their campaign policy. And you will notice you can take that if you print it on you remember the old transparencies from school, man, when we put them on the overhead. If you printed it on a transparency, you could lay it over Project 2025, and it would literally be the exact same words. It is literally Project 2025. They ripped the header off and put Agenda 47 on it, and it's the same exact damn thing.
Yeah. Yeah, they love to do that shell game thing. No, it's not Project 2025. It's Agenda 47. It's the same damn thing. It's the same thing that basically Donald Trump does with everything. He just slaps his Trump label on it, and it magically becomes something else. But it's not something else. It's the same damn thing, just with his name on it.
I'm really glad to see, though, man. I'm really glad to see people are actually starting to call them out. Did you see Charlemagne and Anderson Cooper's exchange?
No.
Oh man, let me play this for you real quick. It's a couple of forgive me. It's a couple minutes long. Hang in there with me, brother. But it is a great exchange. It really is.
Apparently, Trump's is going to tape a thing with Joe Rogan. Do you think she should do that?
I think that she should keep calling Donald Trump a fascist. And I think that Americans need to keep looking at the rhetoric of Donald Trump, because I don't know why we're even thinking about electing somebody who's talking about putting people in camps. I don't know why why we want to elect somebody who's talking about mass deportation. I don't know why we're having this conversation about somebody who wants to terminate the Constitution for the results of the election. Aren't we supposed to be a patriotic country? Whenever somebody like Colin Kaepernick takes a knee in this country, everybody talks about, oh, that's so unpatriotic. But a guy can say he wants to terminate the Constitution to overthrow the results of an election, and nobody cares. Like even me bringing it up now, you brought it back to Kamala and Joe Rogan. Anderson, who gives a damn?
Well, I think you give a damn who's elected president, and I'm asking
that president is a fascist. That's talking about putting people in camps. That's talking about, once again, terminating the Constitution to overthrow the results of an election. That's talking about jailing his political opponents. Like, that rhetoric doesn't scare people.
We talk about this every single. This is what
I don't think
I've been talking about this every night.
I don't think y'all have enough conversations about it. I feel like I heard more on this network about is Kamala Harris black than I do about Donald Trump being a fascist.
Well, am I wrong, Angela? Honestly, that's bullshit. I'm sorry.
Oh, I like that.
That's
Wait for it.
I'm a huge fan of yours. Okay. But to say that we're sitting around discussing is Kamala Harris black, like
I've seen that. I've seen those roundtable discussions a lot. Now that's bullshit, Anderson. For you to say that y'all don't have.
Yeah, I'm gonna pause it for a second because I'm gonna. Have you heard that, Majid? Have you heard that conversation on CNN?
No.
You didn't. No, you haven't heard them talking about is Kamala Harris black and the attacks. I mean, they literally verbatim went for the attacks that were coming out of Donald Trump, man, on CNN. You didn't ever see any of that coverage because I saw it. I guarantee you, the audience saw it. Charlemagne, I love what he said. Listen to what he says here.
Have those conversations.
I've never asked somebody is.
Oh, I'm not saying you. I said the network.
He said the network.
I don't think anyone I don't think any anchor on this network has been going around saying, "Is she black?"
Y'all have never had
definitely. It's definitely.
We have had. Look, I'm sure we have had.
That look on his face.
Or people who have strongly held beliefs who I may disagree with, who somewhere on some panel have said something. But I will just
But
speak
even-
up for what I do on the show. I do believe it's important to get people different viewpoints as long as they're willing to have a legitimate conversation. What I
But
don't like
is-
are surrogates who come out and just spout talking points that they don't even believe. And those are people I tried to eliminate from having ever on the air again.
I think no network has honest conversations about Donald Trump. Nobody's had honest conversations about Donald Trump since 2016. I saw last night they were talking about, the double standard that exists between Donald Trump and the vice president. But it's always a double standard with Trump, whether it's with Hillary, whether it's, against Biden, now with Kamala. We talk about him being a threat to democracy, but we don't treat him like one.
I don't know what you've been watching, but I don't know of any Trump supporters out there or people who like him who are tuning in to me every night to try to get, to be validated in their opinions. I don't know. I don't know. I disagree.
I don't think it's about validating. What you mean, validating the Trump?
Well, you're saying that we're not, that I guess you're saying I'm not discussing all the things he is saying and doing and pointing it out and talking to, what John Kelly,
I have thoughts about this. I have thoughts about his comments there, Paul. Well, first of all, early on in that clip, they said that Kamala Harris called him a fascist, and I watched heads kind of explode on the cable news yesterday around that subject, and I was baffled. What am I missing? Because first of all, Anderson Cooper, let's rewind the tape, because Anderson Cooper actually asked Kamala, does she agree with the general's assessment that he is a fascist? And she said yes. He kind of steered her into that, and I see journalists, so-called journalists, they do that frequently. But, I don't take issue with that because, okay, technically, I guess if she's agreeing with that, then fine, you can say that she called him a fascist. But at the end of the day, why are you guys making it the issue that she called him a fascist when it's actually the generals who served with him, who worked with him, who had the best, most up-close assessment of him, who are finally stepping forward, who are bucking their, institutional instincts that make them steer away from politics. They're bucking all that to step forward and issue a dire warning about his fascist tendencies. That is the issue, and that is what should be hammered by the press. Not, oh, Kamala Harris called him a fascist. Come on. That's my issue with that. The other thing is, Anderson Cooper said, I don't think people are tuning in to CNN to have their biases or their thoughts validated. And, I'm sorry, but CNN has changed a lot over the years.
Yeah.
I used to have a lot of respect for CNN back in the day, and it was so long ago, I can't remember when it was. But they have become Fox Light, and
Yeah.
every once in a while, I will catch it just out of necessity because sometimes they do have some news, but frequently they have lots of guests, conservative. I wouldn't even call them conservative. I'll call them MAGA guests who will flip reality on its head and spew blatant lies about Kamala Harris that don't get fact checked in real time. And then on the other night, I watched a segment on MSNBC that Alex Wagner had where she went to Pennsylvania and she spoke with Black Republicans, and it was abhorrent what I was seeing, and there are Black Republicans who are saying, Kamala Harris is uneducated. She has no experience. And I was like, are you kidding me? And it kind of irritated me that Alex Wagner just let them say these things and didn't correct them. It was like when you see, here's the problem. When you're watching a so-called cable news show and you see people say things that are, false, and then you don't see them being corrected, that's almost like the news station is endorsing that point of view. And that's so wrong. That's like, that's why people have these soft-baked, wrong ideas and beliefs about Kamala Harris's. First of all, she was the vice president. She has two things that she could do. She could break ties in the Senate, and she can step in for the president when he or she is incapable of fulfilling their duties as president. That is it. People are under some kind of misconception that, oh, why didn't she do something about the border? She doesn't have that power. She does need Congress because Congress has the power of the purse. Congress is the one who can issue, saying, here's $10 billion for some more equipment to detect fentanyl on the border, and here's some more funding so you can hire some more judges to address immigration issues on the border. They think you throw up a wall and that's it. Border crossing solved. That's ridiculous. It's stupid. By itself, a wall is bullshit. Excuse me.
It's an ecological. Yeah, you can say that. It's an ecological disaster. It doesn't work. Walls. Talk to somebody that has a military education and ask them about the effectiveness of walls. If there's a siege, you don't want to be the one inside. Mm-hmm. You don't. The person inside during a siege loses every time, because you're cut off, you're isolated. Walls are stupid. They haven't been effective or useful in forever. You know what works? Technology. Exactly what Kamala Harris, and I wanted to jump in on this so bad when you were talking about this because of this one very point. They're like, Kamala Harris did this. That border bill? Bill? Mm-hmm. There are a lot of Democrats that don't know a lot about the border. They don't. Mm-hmm. They don't know what the problems they're facing down there are because they're from states that aren't on the border. They're not from California. Right. They're not from Arizona. They're not from Texas. So they don't understand the challenges down there firsthand. They just don't. Why would they? They're focused on their voters' issues.
Right.
Kamala Harris is the one that went back and said, do this deal. Yeah. We need the sensors at the border. We need new bridges that are more efficient. One, we're just killing ourselves, just business-wise, we're killing ourselves because it takes so freaking long to get these trucks back and forth across the border. It's ridiculous. Just from a business standpoint, do this deal. Mm-hmm. What they're asking for is not bad.
Yeah.
And that's what she did.
Yeah.
They keep telling you, well, she was the border czar. She was the one that was going to Congress and pulling Democrats together and knocking their heads and saying, no, you want this. You get your butt to the table and do the deal. You want this. And
also, she was just for, I hate to interrupt you, but, just for the edification of your listeners, she was not the border czar. I'm sure they know that already, but it drives me nuts when she gets called the border czar and nobody fact checks them because she was not the border czar. She had a responsibility. She was given the responsibility, the task to go to three countries in Central America. I think Guatemala was one of them. I can't remember the other two, but she had to ascertain what were the causes, what was causing people to migrate from those three countries to America, and determine the root causes of that so they could figure out, a solution, an actual solution, not a Band-Aid like a wall by itself. Yeah.
Yeah. The whole subject, I did a video on this yesterday because they're trying to do there were 10 million engagements and I'm like, yeah. Do you know what an engagement is? Mm-hmm. No, you don't. Or you wouldn't be posting that. You just know that everybody else hears it and they think, oh, Border Patrol was chasing down an illegal because you're saying engagements of illegal aliens. And that is false. That is 100% false. It is. If you think 10 million people tried to enter this country illegally, you're insane. That is 2.5 million more people that live in the city of Houston, Texas. And Houston is the fourth largest city in the country.
Mm.
That is ridiculous. They're saying in the last 3 years that happened. Just a little bit of granular knowledge on this subject. An engagement doesn't mean that it was something illegal that happened. In fact, most engagements don't involve illegal activity at all. It is a manpower metric. It is somebody, when the boss walks in the room, you're like, oh, busy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When they take their funding, they take their request for funding. They say, oh, look, our officers had this many engagements. They're working, boss. They're working. That's what that number is. They talked to somebody. It doesn't mean that it was illegal activity. It doesn't mean the net result of that was detainment, which is another type of engagement. It doesn't mean that it was an arrest. It doesn't mean it was a deportation. None of that. It doesn't mean that it was even an illegal alien.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that term, but that's what they call them. So they use that number that's wildly inflated because it's the number that Border Patrol uses to justify its funding. Look at all these engagements. Oh, man, we're busy, boss. We're busy. We need just some more people. That's what it is, man. That's what it is. It's people don't understand the terminology and they're gaming it with the terminology. And it just drives me up the freaking wall, Majid. It really does. Because, man, this is real. It's like we were talking about before, really life-changing policy. Those borders, look, if you've never been to a border city, Majid, there's no, that border's invisible. Okay? This is not an American city and a Mexican city. I mean, I know legally that's what it is. No, these people are intertwined. They're Mexican citizens that work in the United States during the day, and then they go home at night.
Mm-hmm.
There's trade, commerce. You go to lunch. Just because you're an American that lives in Eagle Pass doesn't mean you're not going to lunch right across the border. It doesn't mean that you're not going shopping right across the border, and vice versa. I mean, it's insane the way the bigots are allowed to frame this conversation, and it's because of what we're talking about with the media, man.
Yeah, it's fascinating what you said about, first of all, about the engagements, because I personally didn't know that. I don't live in a border state or in a border town. So that was interesting. It's basically a catch-all metric. It's a big general category that allows them to inflate numbers. And I also didn't know the whole dynamic. I mean, it makes sense when you explain it about, like people who work in a town on the border and go home for lunch, go back across the border, et cetera, et cetera. That's fascinating to me. They should do some more humanizing of that situation there, and so that people can, because without the information, it allows Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and all of their acolytes to fearmonger, right? Because fear, where does fear come from? It comes from a lack of knowledge, a lack of understanding of what is actually happening. They're painting a portrait of, quote unquote, illegal migrants or immigrants as being, Donald Trump is calling them murderers, rapists, coming from insane asylums. So, I mean, it's so reprehensible that people are allowing this. It's almost like you've seen horror movies before, right?
Yeah,
horror movies. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the thing that makes horror movies so effective, excuse me, is that you're watching what should be intelligent people on the screen do the dumbest thing that you possibly imagine. They're standing in front of a door and you hear a sound coming from behind the door, loud growl. "Arrgh!" The lights are out. You don't see the protagonist grab a gun or a knife or a blunt object or even a flashlight. You're like, I better check out what's growling behind that door in the complete darkness. And you're screaming at the screen, "No, that's dumb!" And in real life, that's what makes it frightening, is people smart people doing dumb things. And in real life, we are watching smart people and dumb people do dumb things. And in their support of Donald Trump and his hateful ideology.
Yeah, yeah. And what kills me is you're starting to see this. This just came out of Mitch McConnell. It just literally just blows my mind. Let me find the right tab here. Mitch McConnell has a new book out. So he is flat out just 100% saying, look, MAGA's a mistake.
Yeah,
you can't do this. This is just wrong. This is the destruction of the Republican Party and the country. And of course, he's waiting for his book. He didn't do anything about it when he was actually in power. He's actually the outgoing majority leader. But now that he's seized the door and he's on his way out, he absolutely wants to, all of us to know that, hey, this is maybe a bad idea. And he gets a little specific here. This is about Ukraine, man.
In the time of the delay, Russia's military land forces have grown back to where they were before the invasion. The army's 15% larger, and they've reinforced the 20% of Ukrainian territory that they hold. These are all the words of the Supreme Allied Commander himself. Do you feel your party is responsible for those setbacks?
Many of them, yeah. We took too long.
I spit my coffee out when he said that.
This issue was like a reunion, if you will, with a lot of different points of view being expressed around the table. All the Democrats were for Ukraine. There's no question that the debate was in our family, on our side, and there was a lot of skepticism for a long time.
Yeah, he goes on to talk about how the delays actually hurt Ukraine and helped Russia. And but yeah, you've got Mitch freaking McConnell. Like you said, Darth Vader. You've got General Kelly. You've got General Milley. You've got Mark Esper. You've got Pompeo. You know what a rat, pardon the expression, whore Mike Pompeo is. There's not a more political individual. I mean, he's a weather vane, man. Whichever way the wind blows in the Republican Party, that's the way Pompeo's facing. Mike Pompeo has come out and said, don't elect this guy. Don't do it. Don't do it. And then you've got Anderson Cooper saying, well, I like to have people of diverse opinions and this and that's not your job, man. It's not your job to give every opinion. It's your job. If both sides say, one says it's sunny, you've heard this analogy before. One says it's sunny, one says it's raining. It's not your job to give both opinions. It's your job to stick your head out the freaking window and tell the people on your show, is it raining or is it sunny?
Yeah. That is a major misconception of the responsibility that journalists have to us. They used to be considered like the gatekeepers, the gatekeepers of truth, And I remember a while back, it might have been maybe 10 or 15 years ago when Stephen Colbert first came out with his spoof. His show, he used to have a show on Comedy Central where he was pretending to be an over-the-top conservative Republican, and it was the Colbert Report. And it's when he introduced the term truthiness, and he introduced that because there was a trend where news shows were getting away from the truth, and they were just airing things that were more entertainment than truth. And it's time, it really is time to get back to that standard, where you really can trust what you are seeing on the news. And it's not opinion based. It's fact based. And, we fell into that rabbit hole when Donald Trump, became more prominent on the scene, and he started pushing that whole narrative of fake news. It's time to retire that phrase and let's get back to a place where we can all agree whether or not it is actually raining outside or sunny outside. And it's not based on your opinion. Well, I feel like it's raining. No. If it's not raining, then it's not raining. Yeah.
Yeah. But sorry about that. I had a little screen glitch there. Majid, keep trying to draw it back to the corporate media and what, you were talking about the Harris campaign and what they've been able to do. And my biggest, when everybody was like, Joe needs to drop out, I was vehemently against it.
Yeah.
I was, because I've seen this before. I've read a history book, and what you're talking about, I'm like, guys, we have 3 months. We have 3 months. 3 months. You're talking about building an entirely new campaign apparatus, getting a campaign up and running on message. And I was screaming into my microphone, it cannot be done.
Mm-hmm.
It can't. You don't understand. Dead wrong. I was dead wrong. I have watched the Harris campaign pull off something. Everybody, the reason the Republicans so badly wanted this to happen is every one of their experts said, can't be done.
Right.
What Kamala Harris has done, literally everybody on both sides said cannot be done. It cannot be done. Because I will tell you, a lot of people that were trying to get Joe Biden to drop out were doing it in bad faith because they knew it would sow chaos in the Democratic Party. We have moles in the House. We do. There was some very dirty politics there, and I don't want to get lost in the weeds, but a lot of people just thought it couldn't happen. And I was one of them. I was really screaming, people, don't do this. Don't do this. We can drag Joe Biden over the finish line. We can, because it is Joe Biden and his record versus Donald Trump and his record. We're going to win. It's going to be okay. Oh my God. The inability of the Trump campaign to pivot. I mean, because Donald Trump is mush. The other day, I don't know if you caught that the other day. I don't have a clip of it, but Donald Trump went on and on and on about, supposedly he was talking about Kamala Harris, kept calling her Barack Obama. And I mean, this went on for like 10 minutes until finally on Fox, they're like, you mean Kamala Harris, right? And Kamala Harris. That's what I was saying. That's not what you were saying. That's not what you were saying. You said Barack Obama 3 times. I mean,
so he was doing that back. He was doing that sort of that he had that glitch back when Joe Biden was still in the race. And as far as it not being possible to take Joe Biden out of the race and replace him with another candidate, it would have been catastrophic had we had an open convention. And fortunately, we didn't. It was a nice, clean handoff from himself and his endorsement to his vice president, which I was happy about. I too was solidly in Joe Biden's corner, and I believe that we could, as you said, drag him across the finish line. But while I was writing, I had started writing my sequel to The Littlest President, The Bigliest Loser. I started writing that towards the end of last year. And I was originally supposed to have it published by June. But something was sticking in my craw that did not allow me to finish this story. And it was that narrative that you spoke to, where people were saying, Joe Biden is old. Joe Biden is old. And something felt wrong to me. Something felt 100% wrong. It felt like they were moving in a direction that felt very unnatural. It felt like they were trying to create a narrative to set the stage for him to be removed as the candidate. And at one point, I was not going to finish. I wasn't even going to finish this book But then on July 21st, that's Sunday, when Joe Biden announced that he was withdrawing from the race and giving his blessing to Kamala Harris, bing, a light clicked in my brain, and I was like, that's it. I have the ending of my book. And I sketched out all of these pages, and I worked with an illustrator named John Kelly, and together we finished a book that you're holding right there, The Bigliest Loser, that I am incredibly proud of, the work that we did on this, because it's proud. Basically. Oh, did you find? Proud. Wait, did you find the third?
I found another one. I didn't find the third one. I'm still looking for the third. I've been through this thing 5 times. I found the one you pointed out with sharks, and then I found the one where he's in court. But yeah, you got Bernie Sanders 3 times in the book. It's like, where's Waldo? I love it, man. I love it. This is a whole new genre that you're bringing forward, man. I mean, because it's kind of written in the format of a children's book, but it's not intended for children. It is humorous, satirical. It's funny. I love it, dude. This is your second one like this, and I absolutely love it, man. I'm telling you, it's on Amazon right now, folks. You can get The Bigliest Loser. I don't think you're going to get one that's autographed, but
well, that's on BrooklynDadDefiant.com. If you want an autographed copy, go to BrooklynDadDefiant.com and get your autographed copy. So you have the paperback. I'm sorry, when I sent this to you, I didn't have hard copy available to send you, but there are hard copies available. And tell me, how does that cover feel to you?
It's good, man. It's good quality. I would be more than happy with this if I walked into the bookstore. And and if it wasn't you, if yours, I would buy the hard copy. I would, because you're my friend, and I would come up with the extra change. But if this was just another book I was interested in, and there was this quality versus a hard, I would buy this one. I would save the change, and because it's good quality. Do you mind if I read? I love your closing, man. Here, the moral of the story, man. The moral of the story, when you get to the end, I mean, and it really does cover everything from COVID all the way up to Kamala Harris becoming president. It's really debate. Well done, man.
They're eating the dogs.
Yeah. It does. It covers it all. I love. Kelly did a great job. He did a great job. He really did.
Paul put that there. Look at that.
Yeah. But look, man, I really love your closing. Moral of the story: if you choose fear over courage, despair over hope, hatred over love, and the past over the future, you will lose every time, and that will make you the bigliest loser. Amen, man. That is just such a great. I love juxtapositions. Democrat versus a Republican, blue versus red, that entire perfect, man. Just loved it. Loved the ending. You captured it perfectly.
I wanted to thank you for the kind words. I wanted to take a moment to point out to your listeners and viewers that what we were giggling about and referring to when I was asking Paul, did you find it? Right. So there, if you guys will remember the inauguration, the Joe Biden inauguration in 2021, January, there was a meme of Bernie Sanders because he was sitting in a folding chair and he was wearing mittens, and he had the mittens crossed over and his legs crossed, and he was like, that meme was everywhere. And so I thought it'd be funny to introduce that meme. I introduced that meme to the book. So there are 3 instances where Bernie appears, kind of out of context, but totally there.
I found the second one. I can't see it. I'm getting it in there. See him on the end of the bench there. I found the second one. I found the second one. I haven't found the third. And you know me. That was like a piece of glass in my brain. When you showed me the first one, and you're like, "There's 2 more." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that'll be easy to spot." Man, it was like the 3rd or 4th time through the book before I found the second one, and then I go through it 2 more times. I'm like, I can't find the 3rd one, and dude, I lost sleep over this, man. I'm like, do not tell me. I will find the third one. I do. It's just, you know, man, it's just the way I am. Once I get on something, that's how I end up knowing about this shit. People are like, Paul, how do you know so much about this region, that region? Because it gets stuck in my brain, man. And I can't, it's like a pit bull. Once it chomps down, man, I can't let it go. And I can't make myself let it go. So I'm going to be flipping through this book for days till I find that third Bernie, dude.
When you find the third one, you're going to go like this and you're going to be like, of course. That's all I'm going to say. That's a hint without being a hint.
Well, look, man, we're running short on time, and I really appreciate. I know you got someplace else to go. I just want to get your quick take on this. We have another. I don't know if you've seen this. It's breaking news. Yet another Trump sexual assault with another underage girl, Stacey Williams. She spoke about this contemporaneously back in 2006 with people. They fleshed this one out because it's so close to the election. They really vetted this one out. They went and talked to people. They talked to her. They talked to people that she spoke to. We're talking 10 years before Donald Trump decided to run for president, before she was ever, the Trump campaign is calling her a liar because she's a Democrat. Well, she was speaking contemporaneously to people before she was a Democrat. I mean, the time they fleshed all this out, and I don't give
long
a damn.
Before
just
Donald
because
Trump
you're a
was
Democrat
running
doesn't
for
mean
anything.
you're a liar.
Yeah, and it was long before Donald Trump was running for anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But this was just horrible. Epstein, his gig was he ran a modeling agency. That was his gig. That's how he found his victims. She was a Sports Illustrated model. She was somebody back in the day. I mean, she did. A lot of people don't know who Stacey Williams is now, but she was a big deal. She was on the covers. She was in Sports Illustrated. She was a Sports Illustrated model. She was 15, 16 years old when this happened, man. And Epstein was trying to court her for modeling work. She's very clear about that. She had no relations with Epstein. He was, up until this happened, super nice guy,
right?
To her, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so many people have said that have ended up being his victims. Are like, oh yeah, he was the greatest guy in the world until he wasn't. Takes her to Trump Tower. They go up, they meet Donald Trump, and as soon as they get into private, it is so just like the E. Jean Carroll story. I mean, it's just a turn.
Yeah.
Grabs a hold of her, starts kissing her, grabbing her breasts, grabbing her butt. And she said it was so freaking surreal. I was paralyzed. Imagine being a 15, 16-year-old girl. This guy, he's not a little guy. He's not.
Right.
He's over 6 feet. Grabs a hold of her and just starts groping her. She said it was so freaking surreal because here I am going into this panic mode and Jeffrey Epstein's just continuing the conversation just like nothing's happening. And Donald Trump, when he's not shoving his tongue down her throat, is stopping and continuing the conversation like this isn't happening. Wow. And she was just paralyzed. And then she walks out. After 10 minutes, they're like, okay, let's go. And she walks out with Jeffrey Epstein. They get to the sidewalk, and Jeffrey Epstein does the most groomer thing in the world. Turns on her and starts berating her and screaming at her. How could you let that happen? Why did you do that?
Oh my God.
And, victim blaming, shaming. This is what they do. This is what these predators do. It's how they control their victims. And she said, for years, I was so ashamed. I was so.
Paul, I'm only learning about this actually from you right now because I had seen allusions made to this on Twitter. I didn't do any kind of dive into it yet because they hadn't yet been verified, whatever. So I try to avoid falling into rabbit holes if I can help it. But then, just as you said, this morning I've already seen it both mentioned on MSNBC and CNN.
NBC picked it up, so it's in the networks now. You'll see it out of more places. When you get a chance, take a look at it. It is really freaking heart-wrenching because I immediately went back to E. Jean Carroll and the way he just jumped on her, followed her into a dressing room, jumped on top of her. And she's not small like Stacey Williams is. She's not, Stacey Williams is not a large woman. She isn't. E. Jean Carroll was tall, very athletic. She wasn't thin like a model. She was a strong, if you go look at pictures of her, she's very attractive. He jumped on E. Jean Carroll, and she was able to get a knee up and fight him off and run. You know what I mean? Poor Stacey Williams here, 15 years old, is just in complete paralysis. And I've heard that so many times of people that are the victims of sexual assault. They're like, why didn't you fight back?
Yeah.
I was paralyzed.
Blaming the victim.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Well, Majid, I know you got another very important interview to do with Midas Touch. I love those guys, man. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Say hello to them for me. Always been a big supporter of Midas Touch.
Will do.
They do amazing things. Looking forward to the interview. And thank you for being here, my friend. Enjoy the book. You can, send me that link and I'll put it in the description of the show down at the bottom there.
Will do.
And
that's The Bigliest Loser. Yeah.
Got you, my friend. Thanks for being here, brother. Love the conversations. Always.
Thank you, Paul.
Always good to talk to Majid. Always good to talk to Majid. He is a really great guy. He really is. He's one of those people that we don't agree on everything 100%. You know what I mean? And he's just I love having a back and forth with somebody that's intelligent, that isn't just, spouting off. They really understand what they're talking about. He's a great follow. If you're still on X, which I still have to be because they're the only social media platform with a decent media player that was there before Elon Musk ever got there, he makes X bearable. So yeah, check him out there. He's also on Threads. It's at Padellan on Threads. Check him out. He's a great guy. He's a great follow and a great nexus for information. There's been a lot of things that have been going on. I know we've been on for an hour now, but there are some other things that are happening. Kamala Harris just had an amazing rally in Georgia. But before we get to that, I'm absolutely loving this. Hillary Clinton has no fucks left to give. None whatsoever. She was on CNN and she got this question and just buries. Well, here, let me just show.
What do you think Vice President Harris needs to do, in your view, to avoid a repeat?
Well, first of all, I don't think she has Jim Comey in the wings waiting to kneecap her. So that's good. And I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah. She went there, man. She went there. I loved it, man. I loved it. Thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry I've been reading your quotes, but I don't like to interrupt a guest when we're talking. And thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. You guys know I can't do it without you. You're the ones that pay for it. But yeah, Hillary Clinton nails it. I'm so glad to see people going on these networks and they're not playing the game anymore. They aren't. They're just punching them right between the eyes. And it's fantastic. And people are really, really responding to it. And it's not just on the networks. This talking about X, this is Pete Buttigieg. I love Pete Buttigieg. This is his X account. You want to follow Secretary Pete Buttigieg on X. If you're on X, your feed, you control the quality of your feed. You don't have to have that scum on it. But yeah, Rep Nancy Mace here. Let me blow it up for you. Rep Nancy Mace here is putting out to her people, we helped secure $195 million, the largest grant in South Carolina's history from the U.S. Department of Transportation to kick off the Long Point Road Interchange Project. Hashtag Low Country First. There's a problem with that. Community notes. Rep Macy voted against the Infrastructure Act that supplied this funding. And old Pete Buttigieg, just 2 letters. I'm telling you, I am loving it, man. I am loving the fact that these people aren't doing the old. They aren't doing the old. We did for years. We did. We, as Democrats, tried to do this high-minded stuff, try to do this above the fray stuff, tried to do the. I am so glad to see Democrats just getting in there and mixing it up and just really going after it. And man, it is paying off. It is paying off. This is Kamala Harris's rally in Georgia. Check this crowd out. This is from our friends over at Midas Touch. These people were there all day. I mean, look at that crowd, man. And the excitement. Compare that to like one of these Trump rallies where the crowd is just so negative, so, I mean, that crowd is excited. That crowd is super happy, super fired up. I mean, you had Samuel L. Jackson there. They were literally there all day. I mean, that is amazing energy, folks. Amazing energy. And if we carry that over into votes, we got this. We got this. I know there's Republicans showing up at the polls. I know there are. There are. Don't worry about them. Don't even think about them. You don't have to. We've got this. If you just keep that energy going. Exactly, Joel. Is it Joel or Joella? Reedy. Is it Joel or Joella? Let me know in the comments. Joyful warriors. Exactly. Exactly. Keep that upbeat energy, and we got this. Because I mean, man, you've got this to feed on. This is President Obama's introduction of Kamala Harris in Georgia.
We've got a candidate to vote for in this election who demonstrates that kind of character, who knows what real strength looks like, who will set a good example and do the right thing and leave this country better than she found it. That is what this election is about. And that is why it is my honor to introduce my friend, the next president of the United States of America, Vice President Kamala Harris.
Thank you, Laura Yates. I appreciate the support. God, I miss that man. I do. That was a great presidency. I mean, that was so nice. Having an eloquent, smart, strong president. I mean, God, every time I hear the man speak, I'm like, God, I miss that man. I really do. I really do. Randy Oliver, thanks for the support, my friend. I really do appreciate you. And we are 11 days away, folks. Can you believe that? A week from Tuesday. And we got this. If you just keep voting, if you just keep showing up and doing the work. Let me tell you something, folks. They're having a rally today in Houston, Texas. Folks, you don't do that. They've got, I keep telling you about the polling data that the campaigns pay for. The internal polling data is showing them Texas is in play. There's 11 days left, and she's spending one of them here in Texas. They've doubled down on their efforts here in Texas. They're phone banking here in Texas. Folks, you don't do that at the close of your campaign if you don't think a state is in play. They're looking at these numbers. This is why I'm telling you. I'm going to say it again. I know I've said this in another show. I'm going to say it again. If you are a blue dot in a red state and you think your vote doesn't matter, it absolutely matters. It absolutely matters. Because those Republicans have to have those margins in these areas or they lose. They lose. If you show up, your votes combined with the votes in blue strongholds, cities, towns all across your state that vote blue, and we win. Your vote matters. And I would even argue that your vote is actually the most important. Get out there, man. Get out there. Because look, compare what you've been hearing out of Trump. A guy that doesn't know what a freaking tariff is. A guy that's talking about Arnold Palmer schlong. You got an entire generation of people that are like, who? Who? Why am I hearing about this guy's junk? Who is this guy? They don't know who Arnold Palmer is. And you got this guy, you got Trump talking about, it's insane. It's insane. Compare that to, again, just like our conversation with Majid, talking about things that really matter to people, that really, really matter to people. Linda Hoxha, I appreciate you. Baltimore County acknowledged receipt of my ballot yesterday. Also, Kamala looks like a president. Amen. On that note,
and unlike Donald Trump, who had $400 million served to him on a silver platter and still managed to file for bankruptcy 6 times. He talks about being a good businessman. Come on. Unlike him, I grew up in a middle-class neighborhood with a working mother who kept a strict budget and did everything she could to make sure my sister and I had all that we needed. I come from the middle class. And I will never forget where I come from. I will never forget where I come from. And unlike
man, I love to juxtaposition people. Listen to the way they talk. Listen to what they talk about. It's everything, man. It is everything. Here's Kamala Harris talking about John Kelly and the latest revelations of Trump praising Hitler and wanting Hitler's well, I'll let her say it.
In fact, just this week, America heard from John Kelly, a retired 4-star Marine general who was Trump's White House chief of staff, who said that as president, Trump praised Hitler. Take a moment to think about what that means. That Trump said, quote, Hitler did some good things. And that Trump wished he had generals like Hitler's who would be loyal to Trump and not to America's Constitution. This is not 2016 and it is not 2020. Including because just a few months ago, the United States Supreme Court told the former president that he is effectively immune no matter what he does in the White House. In fact, just this week.
Yeah. It is not, an academic exercise here, people. It's not a situation where, oh, well, if Trump gets elected, we'll get a few years of policy we don't like. No. You're talking about effectively the end of our country. You're talking about taking the most powerful military to ever grace the surface of this planet and handing it to a madman. And the people around him that are horrific people that say things like, well, we'll let it be bloodless if they allow it to be bloodless. Yeah, this is the real deal, folks. It is the real deal. I mean, this is voting for your life here. It really is. But I mean, there's light. There's light at the end of this tunnel. I mean, compare the two.
So, America, there is a huge contrast in this election. Just imagine the Oval Office in 3 months. Picture it in your mind. It is either, but there's a choice that everybody has. So let's imagine it for a moment. It's either Donald Trump in there stewing over his enemies list, or me working for you, checking off my to-do list. You have the power to make that decision. It is your power. It is your power.
Yeah, nail it. And what I was talking about earlier, folks, I am a believer. I am. Because when I said, please don't replace Joe Biden, it had nothing to do with who they were going to replace him with. It was because historically, there was just not enough time to build a campaign to do what Kamala Harris has done. Literally, this woman, before your eyes, has done the impossible. I mean, people keep talking about not just that she's built a campaign, she has built a good campaign, an effective campaign. She has people motivated and excited. That's what I want. That's what I want. I mean, right there, that is what I want. She already had the resume. She's been an attorney general. She's been a senator. She's been in, vice president. She's got the resume. I knew that. But could she think on her feet? Can she deal with crises as they come? Because really, that's what being president is about. If something, Barack Obama talked about this at one point. He said, look, if I'm seeing it, everything's gone wrong. Because there are levels all the way up the government to deal with problems. If a problem makes it to my desk, it's bad. And everything's gone wrong. And that's not a joke, folks. That's reality. And Kamala Harris has shown us. Matthew Preble, thanks for being here, man. Thanks for keeping it real, Mr. Yeah. Thank you for being here. Thank you for keeping it out there, for sharing this and telling people. But yeah, folks, she just showed you. Out of nothing, she just built a campaign in a time span when folks said it cannot be done. When I told you, I said it. I said, look, man, read a history book. This don't work. Please don't do this. She did it. She did it. Absolutely. She whipped Donald Trump in a debate and in the second debate, defeated Bret Baier on Fox News. Because Trump was too chicken to debate her twice because he got his ass whipped so bad. That's what I want. When I go out and I go shopping for a president, can they get her done? Yeah, she can. And she showed you. She showed you. So do your job. Do your job. Get out there. Vote. because none of it matters but the vote. Vote in overwhelming numbers. Yeah, women, you're killing it. She's leading women 57 to 46, and women are absolutely the majority of the early vote. You're killing it. You're getting it done. I see it. You see it. Everybody sees it. If we keep going for 11 more days, a week from Tuesday, that's it. A week from Tuesday, and we're done. We got this. Pretty please. Pretty please. Get it done. Get it done. This comment right here, Rob, how stupid are 46% of women? Let me tell you something. It's bigotry. It is. It's bigotry. You will not believe. I didn't believe because my father failed me. He raised me to believe the world was not as biased as it is. And when I got to tell you, yeah, there are white women out there getting it done. There are white women out there that are putting country and their best interest and the interest of our fellow Americans and women above all. There are Republican women that are doing that. But when we do the postmortem on this election, I promise you, the most disappointing demographic will be white women. It will. It'll be white women. The Roseanne Barrs of the world. I didn't believe it. You know, if you'd have talked to me 5 years ago, you'd have seen a very different Texas policy. You would have. But the deeper and deeper I get into actually putting my face into politics and looking at the numbers of people and the way they vote and the things they say, and yeah, we need to have a culture war in this country. A real, honest to goodness culture war. Because Donald Trump has spent the last almost decade saying that the absolute worst among us, that's okay. It's legitimate to feel that way. It's a legitimate grievance. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. And I welcome that war. I do. I welcome that war. Time to find a way to put that shit back in the horse. Allison Kinsey says, good morning, Texas Paul. It really bothers me that people don't know what oak hold means. Harris hold. Okay, gotcha. People hold Harris to a higher standard than Trump. Yeah, I'm with you 100%. We're moving to the round table. Got a few minutes left. Anything y'all care to talk about? You know, any good comments, throw them out there. We'll talk about them. Yeah. Everett, I'm 100%. 100%. Yeah. I love Midas Touch. I do. Those guys are the future of news. They have been bringing you information like that. And I will tell you, folks, you know, I posted this on one of Frank Luntz's feeds the other day, talking about Republican turnout. And I keep reminding people, yeah. Keep that comment up there. I'll get to it in just a second. Yeah, folks, the numbers say Republican because they're registered Republicans. They don't actually audit the ballots. Nobody's counted the ballots. They just know Republican registered people versus Democrat registered people versus unaffiliated people. How many have showed up? And they're like, oh, a lot of Republicans showing up. Yeah, look at the primary. 15 to 20% of Republicans were like Mitch McConnell. They're like, you know, no, we're not doing this. And they voted for another candidate who wasn't even in the race anymore, who wasn't even a viable option. They knew that they were not going to win, but they stood up. They took the time to get up out of their house, go down to the polls, and vote to express that I will never support Donald Trump. And that was 15 to 20% of Republicans. That's why I'm saying, folks, this is an incredible opportunity in front of us. If you keep your foot on the gas, if you keep showing up, not only can we win the presidency, we can make historic gains in Congress, and we can go into this next administration and really have that culture war. We can really end the sickness of the Republican Party. We can. I mean, it's really right there in your hands. All you have to do is for the next 11 days till a week from Tuesday, get people to the polls. The vote is everything. Uncle Russ here says, what are we going to do about Elon and the Russians? I'm telling you, the legendary Rick Wilson was talking about this yesterday. Folks, there has got to be a reckoning. How can somebody who is a defense contractor openly talk about his private conversations with the head of the very person that we have to build our defense system to fight? You know, Elon Musk said it himself. If Donald Trump loses, I'm screwed. Yes, you are, buddy. Yes, you are. For the things that you've done, you are screwed. Well, look, I want to end with this. Everybody drink. Everybody drink. Told you. Putin's caravan made it. Putin's caravan made it. A 2,000-person illegal immigrant caravan is heading toward the U.S. border ahead of November. This is from Elise Stefanik, day before yesterday. Illegal immigrants. No, President Trump will secure our border and stop the invasion. Once it, yada, 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 yada. Told you. Right before the election, there will be one of Putin's caravans. He did it in Italy with boat people from North Africa. He did it in the Finnish elections. Had Syrians and Sudanese showing up on bicycles. Go look at a map where Sudan is in northern Africa and Syria is in the Levant, south of Turkey, and where Finland is. Yeah, every damn election, Putin arranges for this because Russia's full of bigots, folks. They are one of the most bigoted societies you will ever meet. And they know it sells worldwide. You have racist old white people that want to blame everything, that are afraid, want to blame everything, every election. And sure enough, I told you, did I not tell you at least a dozen times there will be a caravan as usual right before the election? I've got a graphic for you. I'm going to show you on Sunday's show that shows news coverage every election year that talks about a caravan. I love it, folks. So everybody drink. The caravan is here. Well, folks, that's what I've got for you today. I've enjoyed talking to you. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Majid, one of my good friends. I really love the guy. If you're interested, check out his book. It's The Bigliest Loser. He's going to text me the link to his website where you can get it directly from Majid, and I will put it in the comments down below once I get it. So come back and look. Take a look. I've said this before. There's no Democrat paying me. There's no billionaire paying me. Your support that you see popping up on the screen covers the expenses. The streaming software just almost doubled in cost. I mean, it's just, you cover those costs. When you buy the cups, when you buy the cups. Tons of you ordered your Tuck Trump cups. That's what covers it. Majid is the exact same way. He's out there putting the information out. He's the one suffering the slings and arrows. He's the one that is keeping the messages going, that is distilling the nonsense out and bringing you the good stuff. And he supports it on his own. Nobody pays him. Russia doesn't pay him. China doesn't pay him. There are no billionaire sugar daddy frat boy club paying him. He goes out there and he writes books and he does the job. So here's Majid's book. Great Christmas present. Hope you enjoyed the show. Enjoy some Texas cities at night.